What's cracking, ladies and gentlemen? Fully 9 coming out, another community shoutcast for the ODL2 Dota League Season 2. We're loading to a losers bracket best of 3 series, so eSnug up against Recursion. The winner of this series will move on to face the winner of Blink v Momentum, and the loser will be eliminated from the ODL2. And I believe Recursion, they've got first pick. Looks like I'm actually having a bit of issue loading. Oh my god, I think I might have actually botched it and not loaded into a commentating spot, or I'm having some kind of... I think this is actually all pick. Yeah, this is all pick. Okay. Never mind, I'm safe. Do apologize for the delay. Looks like we have had a bit of an issue. I'm just going to quickly double check what the password is. Oh, never mind, I can guess it. Alright, cool. So we are going to be quickly restarting the game. eSnug, they've got sides, they're on the Radiant side, and Recursion, they've got first pick over on the Dire. And so it will be interesting to see what Recursion let through the first banning stage. Since it looks like, yeah, everything is good to go. Okay, so we should be quickly resuming back into the game. Bit unfortunate that happens, but these things do happen from time to time. And so the winner of this series moves on to face the winner of Blink v Momentum, so that's currently happening at the same time. I think it's happening, if it hasn't started now, it'll be happening in the next few minutes. And of course Blink knocked down to the loser bracket by 5 IP, so there we go, now everything's good to go. So Recursion, first pick, will be interesting to see what hero they decide to let slip through the first banning stage. Since a lot of teams have started to adjust to the Death Ball meta, well, the teams that have been succeeding are the ones that have decided to reject the Death Ball meta that everyone seems to be picking up. They're going against the meta, sticking to their own playstyle, and so they've come up with a lot of counter strategies to deal with the Death Ball. And Death Ball is entirely based on execution. And so 5 IP, they're able to punish Blink, who went for a very similar draft in both games, by preempting the fact that they're going to go for the greedy Void first pick. And so they went for a Lich Brewmaster or Lich Undying dual lane to shut them down. And so a very powerful way to be able to disable the Death Ball is by being able to win all 3 lanes. Since Blink, they place heavy emphasis in the mid lane. The mid lane is how they're able to win their games. They're able to win that mid lane through Snow because the supports Yoshi and Bambi are constantly rotating. And once they're able to win the mid lane, the mid can then create space for everybody else to find farm. Ziki, he's a very greedy offlaner, but he's very good at what he does, but he does tend to play a bit greedy. And so if you're able to shut him down, especially if he's going to be playing that Faceless Void in that 3 position, you can completely disrupt their strategy, since the Faceless Void, for the first 20 minutes, he doesn't necessarily need too many items. Just with the treads and the Mask Man is good to go. But post 20 minutes, especially if the other team has a lot more farm, you need items in the Void for him to be effective. And so we've got a Tinker and a Faceless Void. First bans coming out from Recursion. Counteract by the Lycanthrope as well as the Brewmaster. And Titan to first pick coming up from Recursion. Titan to the most powerful offlane hero in the current metagame because of how powerful he is at not only being a win the lane and being a controller, and how difficult he is to dislodge, and the fact that he's got a fantastic recovery mechanic through ancient stacking or through clearing up jungle creeps. To Tidehunter, he fits the build for the requirements for... if you go down through a checklist for the requirements for an offlane, Tidehunter, you can check them all off. So he's very difficult to dislodge, he has ways to clear out the creep blade, find farm, he can test farm, he's very difficult to kill, and if for whatever reason you are able to kill him, he's got a great way to be able to recover. And so Batrider used to be able to fit the same build because he also had a huge amount of killing power. But we've actually got an Ember Spirit first pick coming up from eSnug. But going back to the point with the Tidehunter, is the Batrider, because you've disabled, he's received that nerf, so Sticky Napalm now only adds half bonus damage to non-hero units. It's due to his ability to be able to recover. So if you do shut down the Batrider, it's going to take him much longer for him to be able to farm up his Blink Dagger when he rotates to the jungle. And that means that you're delaying the pick-off power coming out from the Batrider. Since Batrider, very similar to the Centaur Warrunner, you have to have level 6 and Blink Dagger up fairly shortly in order for yourself to be effective. If you're able to shut them down, it's difficult to recover. You never want to play Batrider from behind. You never want to throw in a reactive lasso. You always want to be using it aggressively. But we've got Skywrath Mage coming up from eSnug, and Ember Spirit could be running the mid lane, going to be played by Brightside New Zealand, or it could actually be a tri-lane Ember Spirit, similar to the way that Horseman and Ruckus like to run their Ember Spirit, since they have been known to run Skywrath mid from time to time as a counterpick to the Brewmaster, but since Brewmaster is being banned out, we're most likely going to be seeing a 4 or 5 position Skywrath Mage, depending on the other support hero. But Skywrath Mage, he's a very trendy support pickup at the moment, just because he's very powerful. I wouldn't call him overpowered, but he is very powerful at all stages of the game. The Ancient Seal buffs now provides 30% magic damage amplification at level 1, as well as 3-second silence, makes him combo very well with a lot of our support heroes. You can set him up Skywrath Mage with the Shadow Shaman, so you can concussive shot to be able to set up the Shackle, and then you're able to deal a huge amount of damage once you've got level 2 with the Arcane Bolt. Or if the Shadow Shaman starts with boots, you don't need the concussive shot at 1, you go for Arcane Bolt, and so in that case the Shadow Shaman provides a lockdown, the Skywrath Mage provides the damage. And so he synergizes very well with a lot of other support heroes. Because a concussive shot is a guaranteed initiation. Because it's got 1600 range, you can't disjoint it, you've got a 40% stun that flies out from it. It's very powerful because it enables you to, it's a low risk initiation. If the enemy hero backs off in time, or if it, for instance, Mirana leaps out, and the bolt continues to fly, you don't have to commit, you simply back away. You're placing a lot of pressure on Mirana, since she has to then play very cautiously, knowing that the Skywrath Mage is around. And then once it's off cooldown, you can go in again. You can also fire out the bolt while you're smoked up. And so if you decide not to commit for a gank, you haven't really wasted anything. All you've wasted is the mana. The Skywrath Mage with a high intelligence growth, he's got stacks of mana. It's a very powerful hero, works well against the Tidehunter, since the Tidehunter blinks in. If you're fast enough with your fingers, you can catch him out the Ravage. But that being said, Tidehunter, unlike the Brewmaster, I don't think he actually has a cast point for the Ravage. And so if you're not completely perfect, if you're not able to do it before Tidehunter's able to press the R button, you're going to be called out with the Ravage. And Tidehunter, assuming his fingers are quick enough, he should be able to guarantee the Ravage against the Skywrath. And Tidehunter works very well against the Skywrath, because if you're able to catch out the Skywrath with the Ravage, he's going to die. He's going to drop immediately. There's enough damage coming out from Recursion that with the Gush, the Anchor Smash, maybe even an Aerial or Starstorm, you could kill Skywrath at the very start of these fights. And so Mirana, very powerful support hero, because you can run her as a 4 position role or a 5 position, depending on what other support hero you picked up. And you can also run her in that core position, THO. They like to run Mirana in the off lane. That's something that has sort of faded out of the metagame, because Mirana, she doesn't have an effective way to be contest last hits against the carry if she's left alone. Since while she's very powerful at everything else, her base damage at 1 is absolutely atrocious, and her animation isn't the greatest, her attack point is slightly too high for it to be effective. I believe it's about 0.4, 0.5-ish. And so it's great for being able to harass people down, being able to run people down, but it makes it a bit tricky to last it around it. And so I've got a Nature's Prophet as well as a Silencer band coming up from Recursion, and a Viper and Shadow Shaman band coming up from eSnug. And so the Shadow Shaman band, him and the Skywrath Mage are the most picked up support heroes in the current metagame, because the Shadow Shaman, he offers you a lot in all stages of the game. If you go for boots first and the Shadow Shaman, if you're able to pick up a much less item-dependent support, he can set up ganks on solo heroes by running in with the Shackle. Since with boots first, you're guaranteed to be able to get that Shackle off. Then you could usually translate that to First Blood. But the biggest issue with the Shadow Shaman is he is very, very greedy. You have to be able to achieve a lot of kills or be able to take towers in order for the Shadow Shaman to be effective, because he needs gold as well as experience. You want to hit level 6, level 7 ASAP, so you've got that level 4, that maxed out Ether Shock, as well as the Mass Serpent Wards. But in order to sustain your ability, since the Mass Serpent Wards chew through such a huge amount of your mana pool, and considering the fact that you want to be able to throw as many Ether Shocks as possible, and be able to use both your Hex and your Shackle, you need Arcane Boots up on the Shadow Shaman, and then you want to translate that later on to a Blink Dagger. But if the momentum ever stalls, if the enemy team is able to pick off the Shadow Shaman in these fights, and kind of keep him down, prevent him from being able to get the ball rolling, Shadow Shaman offers you very little. If the Tidehunter catches out the Shadow Shaman in the Ravage, for instance, he's dead, similar to the Skywrath Mage, because he's so squishy, because unlike the Skywrath Mage, he doesn't have the high mobility, and he doesn't necessarily have any kind of escape mech. Skywrath Mage can run away, relying on his high movement speed, as well as a concussive shot he can throw out while he's retreating, to ensure the retreat, or if he's about to die, he can just pop the Mystic Flare and try to take down our hero down with him, or deal a fair amount of damage. So Skywrath Mage and Lion, absolutely brutal magic damage combination coming out from these two. In this case, you can have Line set up the ganks, you can run in and catch him out with the Hex. Since Hex, best level 1 stun in the game, 2.5 second disable, so it drops into 100 movement speed, disables evasion, disables a fair few other passives as well, and so a very effective way to be able to set up Skywrath Mage, since you don't actually need to go for Impale at 1 in this case, if you are going to gank a solo target, because Skywrath Mage can provide you the damage through the Arcane Bolt, and once the Ancient Steel Mystic Flare and then the Finger of Death combo comes online, 1 to 2 heroes in Recursion can just drop instantly. You can just, if you catch a hero out, you blow them up completely. And so Skywrath Mage is going to work also very well against the Naga Siren, because if she does split, the illusions will instantly die to the Mystic Flare, so you can easily identify which one is which. But of course the drawback to this is you're greatly reducing the amount of damage you're dealing with that Mystic Flare. You always only want to hit one target, since otherwise the damage is divided up. But because the Naga Siren illusion, especially at early levels, and since she's so squishy, they take such a huge increase in damage, it's very easy to identify which one's the real Naga Siren. And so Naga Siren going to be played most likely in that carry position. Naga Siren in that 4 position role has tapered off with the nerfs to the illusion. So Naga Siren, you used to be able to pick her up either as a core position farmer, so in the mid lane or the safe lane, or you can pick her up as a support hero, similar to the Mirana. But the issue with the Naga Siren in that 4 position role is you need to pick up a lineup that could synergize well with the sleep. since she's also a very greedy support hero, she can recover in terms of farm and actually transition into a pseudo core once she gets enough farm because of the illusions. But with the nerf to illusion damage, so I believe they deal about 5 to 10% less damage than they used to. It really affects the 4 position Naga Siren as opposed to the 1 or 2 position Naga Siren, because the 1 or 2 position Naga Siren is dependent primarily on radiance damage as well as the diffusal blade, and so she doesn't necessarily need to rely on the right click power coming up from illusions. He just has to ensure that they can run up to them and continue to blow them up, burn them down. So Bristleback pickup coming up from eSnug, that's going to be that offlaner. And so you pick up a Bristleback when the enemy tri-lane is looking to be fairly soft. So if they've got support heroes with low armor, or if you don't think they have enough lockdown to be able to kill you, Bristleback is a fantastic offlaner, because if the supports have low armor, so for instance if it was a Skywrath Mage Shadow Shaman combo against the Bristleback, and you ever go for a kill on the Bristleback, Bristleback actually stand his ground, turn, and kill both of the supports. Because Skywrath Mage got 0 armor at 1, Shadow Shaman's got 1. Bristleback, with the few points up the quill spray, even with level 1 quill spray, can threaten the 2 supports. And so Bristleback is a very powerful but if situational offlane pick, because he also transitions into a pseudo core. By picking up a Bristleback, you also ensure that you've got a guaranteed mech carrier. Bristleback can go Vanguard, but I really dislike the Vanguard being built on Bristleback. Mech is almost always a superior alternative. I just like Vanguard as an item in general. It's pretty much a waste of 2,000 gold. But Recursion pick him a Kunkka, so we could be seeing either a mid position Kunkka or even a support position Kunkka with the Naga Siren. A support position Kunkka has been played a fair few times by IG. They like to run the Shadow Demon Kunkka combination because you've got the disruption to guarantee the torrent, and with the Soul Catch it actually deals a huge amount of damage. So Kunkka can be used either as a mid lane hero or as a support, so a lot of flexibility coming up from Recursion's draft. As it looks like eSnug, they ban out the Enigma. They really don't want to deal with the Song into Ravage into Black Hole combo. And the Enigma, actually, if the Naga Siren isn't going to be a core position farmer, would have actually preferred the Enigma over the Naga Siren, because then you've got the Ravage into Black Hole combo. That means that the Enigma can also be your mech carrier. Enigma's the fastest jungler in the game. That means that the Enigma doesn't necessarily have to go for a Blink Dagger, so you can go straight for BKB, and then maybe even later on something to like an Aghanim Scepter, or you can pick up a Sheep Stick to provide a lot more lockdown. But Recursion, they're banning out the Rubik, and for good reason. Rubik really does shut down the Tidehunter, since it forces Tide to always be able to have to catch out the Rubik and the Ravage, otherwise you're going to be eating that return Ravage. But one huge advantage that Recursion have with their draft so far is they've got the Kunkka with the Ghost Boat. And Ghost Boat, it's a very powerful ability. It's almost broken with how much it gives you, because it gives you a huge amount of damage, first of all, the stun, but most importantly the Coco Rum debuff. And considering how much burst damage eSnug have and how much they're relying on being able to out DPS down Recursion before they can respond, especially with the Ember Spirit, the Skywrath Mage, and the Lion. So these 3 heroes rely on being able to kill the enemy heroes very quickly to prevent them from retaliating. Same with the Clinkz, they're what I like to call Alpha Strike heroes. So you want to front load all your damage at once, kill them with the first salvo of spells, and then force a retreat from the survivors. Kunkka completely stops this, because if he gets his boat off before eSnug jump on them, he applies that Coco buff to his allies, it cuts all incoming damage in half. The half damage to negated is applied at the end of the duration, but it's non-lethal damage, and the Coco Run buff lasts for 10 seconds. That's a very long time. So if they can survive, if he throws the boat before they go on them, then Recursion, they've got excellent counter initiation with the Ravage, the Song, as well as the Moonlight Shadows. They could disengage and re-engage if eSnug are called out without sentries or dust. And so Recursion, they've got a very powerful counter initiation lineup, but they also have the added benefit, since both Naga Siren and Tidehunter can initiate and counter initiate respectively, and so can the Kunkka if he catches the hero out the level 3 X marks the spot. You X him, you throw the boat, then you torrent, and it should be enough to be able to blow up any of the support heroes that you catch out. But last pick, Clinkz coming up from eSnug, that's throwing Recursion in for a bit of a loop, since now they're considering, do we go for a hero that counters the Clinkz, or do we pick up a hero that synergizes with our draft? Because if you don't contest Clinkz, if you don't have a way to shut down the Clinkz, and he gets a very early Orchid Malevolent, he could run roughshod over your entire team. He could run around, force your entire team to group up as 5, so they don't get picked off. And then eSnug, while that space is being made, Right Side New Zealand continues to farm, Bristleback continues to farm, and then Clinkz, he's still able to find his farm somewhat, since if they stray away for a little bit, he gets killed, and the other 2 heroes constantly split pushing. And so Ember Spirit and Clinkz, fantastic split pushing cores, and so very effective draft coming out from eSnug in regards to their flexibility. The only drawback is in these fights is it all boils down to if Stand and Alpha Male can throw out the Ghost Boat before they jump on them. If he does that, they should be able to turn these fights around, assuming even amount of farm. But the Disruptor, fantastic counterpick to the Clinkz. Since Clinkz relies on his mobility, and he's actually a very squishy hero if you catch him out. And so if you're able to glimpse him back on when he's on the retreat and catch him with the Static Storm or the Connect Field, he's dead. And so it's a very effective way to also deal with the Ember Spirit. When Ember Spirit defends high ground by throwing out the Sleight of Fist, you run up and you drop the Static Storm and Connect Field on him. Since he's forced to zip back to that Remnant once the Sleight of Fist ends. And if Ember Spirit's silenced, he's dead. He's absolutely useless as a hero when he's silenced. And if Ember Spirit's forced to go for a BKB, which he has to against the Disruptor, it makes your fight it makes your mid-game a lot stronger, because Ember Spirit, he wants to only build damage. That's the entire purpose of the hero, is just to deal as much damage as possible, constantly position yourself, so that the only thing you're doing in these fights is throwing out the Slay the Fist Searing Chain combo, remnanting in to be able to right-click them only when you can guarantee the kill, and when everybody else is dead, or they don't have any spells to be able to defend against you. So Ember Spirit, he's not a carrier to sit there and man-fight. You constantly want to be dancing around at the edges of a fight, just throwing out Slay the Fist and hanging back. That's the whole purpose of the hero. It's the reason why he's so powerful, is because he can disengage and re-engage at a moment's notice. So Diablos looks like he actually wanted to give Brightside a Sentry, accidentally drops it. So a bit unfortunate, but you never know, they could decide to go for a block ward here, or there. But in the meantime, I'm just going to introduce the players from both teams. Over in Recursion, AIT going to be playing the Mirana. Looks like we're going to be seeing a 4-position Mirana, 5-position Disruptor going to be played by Defense of the Assholes. The Disruptor going to be a fantastic pick with their lineup. Eric King going to be what looks like a 1-position Naga Siren, something called Boots first, so a little bit unconventional. Stand-in Alpha Male, he's going to be playing the Kunkka over in the mid lane from the look of it. And Recursion Scrub, I believe this is one of the regular players, he's just changed his name, he's going to be the off-lane Tidehunter. And over for the boys and eSnug, Seize the Cheese, going to be playing what looks like potentially a tri-lane Bristleback. As Diablos is also hanging there. Yeah, they're actually going to leave Ember Spirit alone up against the Tidehunter. So Diablo is going to be the Skywrath Mage, and we see Spooky Scary Skeleton actually could even be dual lanes, rotating to the bottom lane to support Brightside New Zealand. And it's a bit questionable that they're choosing to run dual lanes. And Bristleback, you really don't want to run a Bristleback tri-lane unless you have enough damage that can guarantee all these kills. Diablos actually eats an arrow to the face, so linking into 4-second arrow. Arrow King throws out and snare, so he actually didn't go for Riptide, but Diablos, he should be able to stay alive. Never mind, the glimpse is there. Now he's going to be taking a fall. Usually, the Naga Siren at 1, you almost always want to go for the Riptide, because this is where you're going to get more damage by using Riptide than you're going to get by using the Ensnare. But of course, the caveat to this is when you've got a hero like a Mirana, so you can set up the arrow. And so very early first blood being happening to Recursion. But Standard Alpha Male actually forced to use his cell, so he's taking a huge amount of harassment from Captain Taichu. And Taichu is going to be that mid lane Clinkz. Kunkka was expecting the Ember Spirit to go to the mid lane, so great game sense coming out from eSnug. They read the draft coming up from Recursion, and they counterpicked it, since Kunkka has an incredibly difficult time up against the Clinkz, because Clinkz, with the Staring Arrow's ability is completely broken on every other hero in the game, apart from Clinkz. And even though Clinkz is still pretty broken. Since Clinkz, he's got a horrendous front swing for his attack, 0.7, so it's incredibly difficult to last hit creeps using his regular animation, so you're forced to use Staring Arrows. But Staring and Clinkz also has very low base damage, but the Staring Arrow is absolutely ridiculous. Captain Taichu actually gets caught out with the Torrent, and Standard Alpha Male looks like he's going for a fairly pub build, so no points in the X marks the spot. He's just going for straight up Torrent and Tidebringer. And now the Tri-Lane's rotated to bottom lane to ensure that Brightside New Zealand has a safe lane. And so if he's left alone against a Tide, the Tide should be able to zone him out quite handily with the Anchor Smash. And he's actually going for the RTZ build, so second point very early on to Slay the Fist. And so the advantage of this build is similar to a Quas Exort Voca build compared to Quas Wax. So it gives you a much more powerful early game. In exchange, and much more powerful laning power presence as well. In exchange for not being as stable and not being as effective in these team fights early on, especially if they catch you out. The advantage of this is Ember Spirit, even without farm, becomes very powerful in the early stage of the game, and especially in ganks, because you could use the Slay the Fist Searing Chain combination to catch out heroes for the rest of your team to go in for the kill. And it does a fair amount of damage. The Searing Chains, it does 240 damage at level 3, so it's actually a fairly potent spell, especially since you're going to be spamming it out repeatedly. Of course, the drawback to this is the Flame Guard always gives you a lot more damage. It gives you a much more guaranteed damage because it's damage over time, and the dot damage actually stacks up very quickly. It also gives you a lot more survivability, and so there are drawbacks to going for the RTZ build, especially with the nerf to Searing Chain, so it's 1 second less at all levels, apart from level 4. And the Slay the Fist, it does 40 less damage, so it's, the damage has been reduced by about a third. So Slay the Fist no longer as effective as it used, so the RTZ build isn't as overpowered as it used to be, because it doesn't deal out as obscene amount of damage to the maxed out Slay the Fist. But of course the advantage to this is it gives you a much easier early game, because he knows that the Clinkz can be the one to deal all the damage if he's there to provide a lockdown. And so Brightside New Zealand, he's sacrificing a bit of his potential early game solo killing power in exchange for having and making himself a bit more fragile, in exchange for giving himself and his team a lot more utility and a lot more control. And while I say that, Seize the Cheese actually called out in the offlane. He takes a fall. Disruptor's a very, very powerful hero to deal with offlane heroes because you've got the glimpse. And so if they're ever out of position and they're fleeing away, running back to hug the tower, you catch them out in the glimpse. And then you've also got the ensnare and the arrow combination coming out from AIT and Arrow King. And Arrow King, his CS score isn't the greatest. He's actually having his illusions in lane. You usually want to send the illusions over to stack and pull camps, so you can time your Riptide to be able to catch out multiple camps at once, or you simply group them all, just have them run into one lane. Standard Alpha Male eating a lot of damage. He's actually completely out of regen. His bottle's also out of charges as well. 4-minute rune has spawned. It's going to be the top lane. And he's forced to bury himself selves. And so Kunkka, in this case, he knows that he's not going to be able to find too much farm. Although that being said, he's actually the same amount of CS as Captain Taichu. So his idea is simply to stay in lane for as long as possible, get some experience. And if he wants to get the Ghost Boat comes online, if he ever does catch out Captain Taichu, he can immediately turn around for a kill. Since the Clinkz, until he gets his Orchid, probably isn't going to be all too effective. Looks like, yeah, he's going for the Soul Ring, so very standard build coming out from the Clinkz. Actually opted for Basilius very early on. So a little bit surprising. He could always turn that into a Ring of Aquila later on. Aquila's a fantastic pickup for the Clinkz. It's a great pickup for a lot of range carries. It's pretty much the range hero's equivalent of the Poor Man's Shield, because it's very cost efficient, so it's cheap early game stats. Since the Ring of Basilius is a very powerful item, since not only does it give you the damage and the armor, the mana regeneration is very powerful on a hero like Clinkz that is so highly dependent on mana. Scrub, he's been having a bit of a difficult offlane. He has taken the death though, so he's got that going for him. But in terms of experience, he's been denied a lot more. Caesar Cheese, almost level 5, so the Radiant offlane has significant advantage, but he has to be very careful. He's got no safety ward. So I don't know if he was given wards to begin with, or if it was de-warded. Defense of the Assholes and AIT, looks like neither of them have sentries. And Diablos and Spooky Scary Scouts, actually he's holding on to his ward, so no safety ward. Siren Chain flies over and Scrum, as well as the Slate of Fist. No, Slate of Fist is still available, so you can use that to go for the last hit. One more right click, but you don't want to dive against a Titan, especially when you've got the Anchor Smash debuff on you, or you can potentially turn around. Actually, Brightside could have gone for that kill there with the Arcane Bolt. If he plays a bit more aggressively, actually could have gone for the kill, but he's playing it very safe. And Diablos almost takes the fall. Should have actually tried to draw creep aggro. Captain Taichu catches out standard Alpha Male. He pops the strafe, the Staring Arrow, boat as well as the Torrent flies out. It's a defensive boat to ensure that he can't continue to chase him down. But the Torrent catches out Captain Taichu. So it's a very expensive save coming up from the Kunkka. But Ghost Boat and Torrent, they're very spammable abilities. The Ghost Boat, very low cooldown. So if it's worth keeping yourself alive and depriving that Clinkz of that extra influx of gold, more than worth it. And he's actually out CSing Captain Taichu now, since Taichu's been focusing a lot on getting damage and harassment damage over on Kunkka as opposed to the last hits. And so it is working out, especially since standard Alpha Male just picked up their haste ring. He could go for a kill on Diablos if he really wants to. Bottle's up, he can actually turn it around if he wanted to, but the Arcane Bolt's flying out towards him, so he didn't want to burn off one of his bottle charges too early on. But it actually looks like he's running all the way back to base. Bit of a mistake. I actually would have liked him to sit back mid, since with that haste rune, it's difficult for the Clinkz to be to kill him, and it means that you're leeching a lot more experience. Diablos, he's not rotated mid. He's had a bit of a rough start, especially with that first blood by walking back into the arrow. But he's sitting there in mid, so because he knows that Captain Taichu, the advantage of Clinkz is similar to a Next Assassin if you happen to run him in the mid lane, is they're going to be rotating, and when they rotate, the supports can rotate, can move into the mid lane, to have some experience. Defense of the Assholes to be very careful. Captain Taichu's picking it out. And he's got the Soul Ring off cooldown, 1 more second. Actually doesn't need it, probably should have gone for that. But Defense of the Assholes, with boots up on the arrow flies and actually catches out Captain Taichu. So Captain Taichu, if he waited 2 more seconds for the Soul Ring, he would have had strafe that would have guaranteed the kill. He's got to be very careful now. Defense of the Assholes, actually looks like Scrub gets a kill over on Spooky Scary Skeleton in the bot lane. Caesar Cheese not rotates in. He actually opted to max out the Bristleback passive. You never want to do this, you always want to max out Core Spray. Since the Bristleback passive, it scales very poorly, and it gives you survivability, but doesn't give you damage. And if you just build Bristleback for survivability, you're not playing the hero correctly, because they can just ignore you. They don't have to focus you. You have to give them a reason to focus you. The Cool Spray also gives you more survivability because it threatens the enemy hero more, because they're eating... If you get Cool Spray, free Cool Spray procs from the Bristleback passive, it's based off your level of Cool Spray. So having more points in the Cool Spray means that when you get that free Cool Spray proc off, you're going to be dealing a lot more damage, so you're going to force them to back off a lot earlier, or you can even turn it around to a kill. Whereas if you go for more points in the Bristleback passive, it gives you very little. The added survivability is fairly minimal. Since you only want to have as many enough points in the Bristleback passive to keep yourself alive, you never want to put too many points in it because you want goo up as soon as possible. Standard Alpha Male takes a lot of damage. Captain Taichu, very unfortunately that he got a bit hasty there. If you waited for just 2 more seconds so he had a guaranteed strafe, that would have been sure to kill. Actually, it looks like he's going for the Medallion of Courage, so he could... So Medallion of Courage is a very cost-efficient pickup for the Clinkz, since he's not going for a bottle. So a bit surprised Taichu chose not to go for the bottle, because if he's able to get root control, but Defense of the Assholes, you go for a kill on him. There you go, now he's picking it out, but it could be a little bit too late. So Disruptor's got Glimpse available, and AIT is waiting in the wings. So the Medallion of Courage on mid-position Clinkz, since he's going to be constantly rotating, does a huge amount of work, because the Medallion of Courage is a free Desolator very early on. It costs about a fourth of the price. -7 armor is absolutely brutal, because they're not going to be hitting you, they're going to be fleeing for their life. Especially since Clinkz, with the Dark Pact and with the Staring Arrows, you can't man-fight a Clinkz. He does so much damage that he'll just be able to kill you within the strafe. Especially since Disruptor, only 1 armor up on him. Mirana, 3 armor as well. And actually looks like standing off a Mel, he gets a kill over in the top lane. And sees the cheese, gets a little bit too far forward, standing off a Mel. He's recovered very nicely, despite being against the Clinkz. Captain Taichu eats the Thunderstrike, so the Thunderstrike will reveal his position. The double damage rune is just one off. And defense of the assholes, he really wishes he had a Static Storm for that. Could have tried to translate that into a kill. Arab King, actually very fun. Although, that being said, no, never mind. He's actually not too fun in terms of the last hits. So he should be having a lot more farm, especially considering the fact that Bristleback has died so many times. Since Naga Siren, one of the fastest farmers in the game. Captain Taichu eats an arrow. He's got Ghost Walk available. He actually turns around on AIT. AIT could actually be taken full, forced to leap out. And Captain Taichu, he's got the Ghost Walk. Arab King does have the Dust. Actually, he runs into a turret. Dust flies as well. And Captain Taichu going to be taking a fall. But while this is happening, space is being made for Brightside New Zealand's 44 for 11. High CS score. Catches out Scrub with a very lucky Searing Chain, especially considering the amount of creeps around him. And Brightside New Zealand, he's going to be going for Battle Fury as soon as possible. There we go. He's already got his Ring of Health up. And once the Battle Fury comes online, Ember Spirit's damage increased by a significant amount, especially if he's able to get a few lucky cleave procs in when you push up with the Creep Wave. And so it makes it a lot more easy for the Ember Spirit to be able to defend your tier 1s and your tier 2s. But of course, the Disruptor counterpick does a huge amount of work against this. Scrub actually catches out 2 with the Ravage, catches the Spooky Scary Skeleton. He's going to be taken 4. The Gush flies out, Impel flies out, Arrow's going to hit. It looks like it actually hits Brightside New Zealand, turns Scrub into a frog. Brightside New Zealand's unfortunately going to be taken full. As he runs, actually, he's able to remnant himself out. But the Thunderstrike revealing his position, he's got another remnant, but not enough mana. Stands his ground to slay the fist, but it's not enough. That's a very important kill for Recursion, as they're able to shut down the Ember Spirit that was getting a huge amount of farm. Cece Cheese runs in, but 4 points of Bristleback. He's not doing anything. They don't give a damn about the Bristleback. He's not going to give you any reason to focus him. You just kill everybody else, and then turn around and kill him. Once the Bristleback started running out of mana, or once you've got the numbers of margin to lockdown to be able to control him, since you're never going to be hitting Bristleback when his back is turned anyway, unless you've got the Death Wish. You've got to be prioritizing other targets. Standing Alpha Male, try to go for a kill on Diablos, but Diablos runs up to be able to juke out the Ghost Boat as well, so turret. So wastes a fair amount of mana, but with that regen rune and with the low cooldown for Ghost Boat, he's not too fussed with that. Medallion of Courage picked up in Captain Taichu. Still very even gain, only 500 gold lead despite the 6 kills. That's just due to the fact that eSnug, while I say that Spooky Scary turns around the Impel, they've got a lot more CS on their heroes. Spooky Scary once again takes 4, sees the cheese, he's caught out of position, so he's stuck in with the kinetic field, and they're choosing to dive this. But surprisingly, they're choosing to do this. The Captain Taichu, he runs with the arrow from AIT, doing so much work. The run's been really causing havoc for the Clinkz. Captain Taichu runs out the Static Storm in time, but Brightside New Zealand's there. Finally ends Disruptor's killing spree. Arab King fleeing out the Moonlight Shadow. Sentry will be placed so he knows Captain Taichu's hunting him. But once it wears off, he can turn around and go for a kill. He actually turns back around. Sees the cheese. He's going to be taking a fall. Where is your Bristleback now? He's going to point the goo though. So he actually he's able to keep himself alive, so never mind. Looks like the point in the Bristleback passive did keep him alive. Scrub takes a fall, Diablos rotates in. Concussive Shot flies him stand off a Mel, throws in the boat to give himself that damage debuff, and it works. You see how much work it does against that Mystic Flare. Keeps him alive and hell and hardy through that. Regen is not flying out. Arrow catches up Brightside New Zealand. AIT's been absolutely on fire. Captain Taichu uses the Medallion card, starts throwing out right clicks on the Kunkka, since Kunkka's got very low base armor. But Recursion are able to safely disengage, so eSnug are able to get 3 kills off that in exchange for 1, so great defense coming out from them. And sees the cheese, the goo level up, doing a lot of work at that. Since Recursion, their heroes have such low armor, the only hero that's got great armor is Naga Siren. If you're able to get maxed out goo, so if you only opted for 1 point in the Bristleback passive, or maybe 2, had the maxed out Quill Spray, and then if 1 or 2 points up in the goo, you'd be able to do a lot more work in these engagements, because you now have to prioritize the Bristleback. If he gets a few goo charges on you, runs at your support and smacks him down, he could 3 or 4 shot them. And so that means the supports are forced to have to deal with the Bristleback, so you can run at them and draw fire away. While that's happening, Clinkz runs in from the side, catches on a hero, and starts burning him down with the strafe. Ember Spirit's doing his thing, slating, fisting everywhere, throwing out the Siren chains, and making it very difficult. So you're forced to prioritize Caesar Cheese, and when you're doing that, and when you're leaving Clinkz alone, he's able to deal huge amounts of damage, and actually go for a few pickoffs. Especially since your other 2 cores deal incredible amounts of damage if they're left unchecked. And so Caesar Cheese, I guess he's recognized that somewhat by opting for 1 point in the group, but because he went for 4 points in the passive gives him nothing. He doesn't have enough HP for the percentage increase survivability in the Bristle passive to be really effective, first of all. And secondly, it doesn't give him any offensive or turnaround potential. Since the Bristleback is completely dependent on the Cool Spray. The Cool Spray is bread and butter. If you're not maxing it, something is terribly wrong with the game. Maybe in a very certain lineups, if you've got, for instance, a Bane Elemental and the Bristleback and you're up against a solo offlaner, you can max out the Nasal Goose since you've got the sleep to set up all the goose stacks, and then you just smack him down. But even then, fairly questionable. Torrent flies was Ghost Boat, sees a cheese, he could be an idiot, but he's out of the back on time. And standing off the mail here, I don't think he's landed the boat yet, but all the boats that he's throwing have provided him a huge amount of utility. He hasn't died because of the boat, or because of his torrent. And so good recognition coming up from the Kunkka. As I mentioned earlier in the draft, that Coco Rum is completely ridiculous against this eSnug's lineup. Because they rely on the Alpha Strike advantage, because they rely on being able to get a kill with the first level of abilities, and forcing the enemy team to break and retreat, having that 50% debuff, well, I guess the buff, so half the damage is completely negated, at least for the first 10 seconds, makes a huge difference. And they're able to turn around and recover from that. AIT throws an arrow, rare miss coming up from him. It's been pretty on point so far. Moonlight Shadow being used. Mystic Flare flies out, a little bit mistimed. If he actually timed it a little bit slightly in front of timed it, as opposed to wasting that half second, would have been the kill. But that being said, not too shabby. It looks like he's actually opted for a second point over the Ancient Seal. Bright Side New Zealand almost caught up with the Static Storm Connect Field combination, but the Glimpse now comes in. And that could actually be a kill. Ravage is committed to ensure Bright Side New Zealand dies. He's got the Remnant. He just Remnants out. Ghost Boat whips. And standing off him hell with no points in X. Can't really commit for that, so a huge investment coming up for a very little return. Bright Side New Zealand only did the Remnant out, and they blew the boat, the Static Storm, as well as the Ravage. The Ravage is the most critical ability in this. There's a Static Storm and the Ghost Boat. More than happy to expend that for one kill, because they have such low cooldowns, similar to the Mystic Flare. But the Ravage, that means that eSnug took a huge teamfight advantage at the moment. Captain Taichu, he actually hasn't been achieving too much with his rotations. He only got one kill and one death as well. He's had 2 kills that he would have had if he'd been a little bit more patient. But because he's either been running to the arrow or he didn't engage with the strafe as well, he hasn't been all too successful. And so this is the issue with Clinkz, is because he's such a snowball dependent hero, you have to be able to achieve a few kills with him in the early stages of the game for it to really be effective, especially since he's choosing not to go for the Orc and Malevolent. So with the build he's got, probably going to go for a Blink Dagger as his next item, as he's got all the damage in the world from Medallion of Courage from Strafe and Searing Arrow, so all he needs now is mobility and utility. Bright Side New Zealand almost gets caught up with the torrent, sees the cheese, taking a lot of damage, Ghost Boat actually finally might latch, arrow and the Ghost Boat, and the Bristleback passive once again does nothing, as he gets smacked down. Scrub leading the charge, but Bright Side New Zealand, he's fainting because he knows that he's got the Remnants in his power too. He just throws out a cheeky Slay the Fist. Looks like he's actually doubled back for the Drums of Endurance, give himself a bit more survivability and a bit more early to mid-game impact. But the gold lead, Recursion only 750 gold ahead, despite the 5 kill lead. And the fact they've also got a tower. That's just due to the fact that in terms of last hits, their core farmers are still lagging behind. So Captain Taichu, good recognition coming up from him, because he knows that his rotations haven't been too successful. He's been farming and pressuring the mid lane tower. So Clinkz can also function similar to Dragon Knight, but he actually should be able to get a free kill over Naga Siren. Arab King, no mana for the song, and the Medallion of Courage doing a huge amount of work. Captain Taichu now picks up the Ring of Aquila, so he's going for these cheap early to mid-game oriented items. Arrow Flies actually catching out Spooky Scary Skeleton, but Diablos, he runs very far forward. He's actually out of position. You never want to run that far forward as a Skywrath Mage. Glimpse, unfortunately, wasn't too great, as it doesn't catch him out of time. Fantastic 3-man Impel coming out. Arcane should be able to kill AIT. Right Side New Zealand called off the Stack Storm. There's no connect field. X-Max is bot level 1. He's able to zip up and dodge both the boat as well as the torrent. Scrub, he's got the Moonlight Shadow to provide some defensive fire. Right Side New Zealand actually misses his Q. He Q'd instead of W, so a bit of a panic miss coming up from him. Scrub eats the Impel. Fantastic Impel coming out from Spooky Scary Skeleton. That turned the fight. If he wasn't able to catch out 3 heroes, that would have been 1-2 death. Right Side New Zealand definitely would have died. He also would have taken the fall, as Scrub would have been able to run him for that. But the Ravage has just come off cooldown. And so Scrub, he might be forced to use it defensively, but he actually absolutely doesn't want it. Drums of Endurance up with the time, and what am I seeing? You always want to Blink Dag on them. Drums of Endurance doesn't give you all too much. Right Side New Zealand can go for the Slayer Fist. All the Searing Chains, but the opposite go for the damage. And Caesar Cheese with the 2 group procs, able to do a fair amount of work. Bristleback as the offlane hero with this lineup also works very well, because you've got the Medallion of the Courage negative armor, you've got the huge amount of physical damage from the Clinkz and the Ember Spirit, and so you want the maxed out as Nasal Goo, especially since every hero in Recursion has such low armor, apart from the Naga Siren. And even then, Naga Siren, she's not going to be fighting for a very long time. She's missed her timing window for a safe lane Naga Siren to go for a Radiance. She actually commits the Song of the Siren to try to get the tower last hit, but when you use the song, it makes the tower invulnerable, so I don't know what he was really thinking there. Arrow mistimed as well, so Diablos, he just backs away. He's going to be able to deny that tower. But that being said, AIT and Defense of the Assholes are there, so they should actually be able to get a kill. Even without the arrow, they should have enough damage with the Static Storm as well as the Glimpse, but he's able to deny in time. Diablos jukes to the trees. He doesn't have TP, but can actually turn around with the Mystic Flare, but unfortunately he's caught out the Static Storm. He runs over it once again, gets Glimpse back in, and that's going to be a 1-0. AIT actually whipping the Starstorm. You have to have vision of them before you use the Starstorm. Very surprising he opted for a point Starstorm. You usually see 2 points in leap. or even full going Starstorm because it chews through so much mana. So max arrow, fairly standard build on a 4-position Mirana. We usually see the second point in leap before you go for any of the Starstorm. Well, you actually completely forego the Starstorm unless you're picking up something like an Arcane Boots, because you're not going, or if you get a huge amount of experience, because you're not going to have the mana pool to really be able to waste your mana throwing out these Starstorms until it's level 3, level 4. Or if you're able to get the double Starstorm proc where you're right next to them, so the secondary Starstorm falls as well. Not really worth the mana that you expend. Captain Taichu, there's a little bit of chip damage on ART, gets disrupted, I guess glimpsed back, as well as the dust being used, but they don't have any follow-up now. So Captain Taichu should be able to swagger his way on under there, especially with the Ghost Walk maxed out. And Arab King, if you've got to stay play Naga Siren, you can get a 14-minute radiance. If you're proficient with the last turning mechanics, if you're able to micro your illusion and send them to the jungle, you should be getting a 14-minute radiance, especially with the amount of kill goals you're receiving from assists, especially since the Bristleback hasn't really been able to contest the Naga Siren too much. But because it's taken 19 minutes, he still doesn't have the radiance. If he takes a death, the Naga Siren pickup tapers off very quickly. She's an incredibly greedy hero, similar to the Tinker. She's one of the greediest heroes of the game. If you're not able to get that radiance up very early on, you taper off very quickly, because without the radiance, you can't do anything, and even with the radiance, it's actually a farming item. Good recognition coming from Taichu and Medallions as that right click flies out to ensure that he gets the career kill. And that career kill is worth about the same, almost the same amount as the tower. And so Cold Lead actually going in favor of eSnug now. So Recursion, they're losing the only advantage that they had, which was gold. Siren Chain catches out Scrub, as well as the Air Spike, but the Kraken Shell immediately pops. Would have really loved him to go for a Blink Dagger. If he had a Blink Dagger, Recursion would have such a powerful lineup right now. But because he went for Drums of Endurance, which gives you very little as a Titanoir, it's actually just a complete waste of gold. So about 1900 gold wasted on the Titan. That's almost a Blink Dagger. Especially with the kills he's received, having that Blink Dagger this early on can pretty much make or break the game for you. Captain Taichu going in on Arab King. Arab King's TP's on now. His Clinkz is no way Disruptor. Actually, if he ran and started throwing out right clicks a bit earlier around here, he actually would have done enough damage to go for the kill. But nonetheless, waste the TP for Arab King, and Arab King still 400 gold off his Sacred Relic. And once Naga Siren farms a Radiance, similar to Tinker with the Boots of Travels or with a Blink Dagger, it's a farming item. You can go for kills if the enemy happens to get called out of position, or if you get it very early on, so say a 14-minute Radiance. But Naga Siren, she picks up a Radiance and says, okay, I'm going to be farming for the next 10 to 15 minutes, trying to hold the line while I do this. Once I have my Boots of Travels up, once my illusions get tanky enough, they can send them separately into every single lane. Actually, Arab King, good recognition coming up from him. He realizes that he's not going to be able to finish the Radiance in time for it to be relevant, so instead opts to go for the Diffusal Blade. But the biggest issue with this build is because you've invested so many resources into the Naga Siren, she now is going to get completely hard countered by the Ember Spirit. Because once she pops the illusion, if you slay the Fist, he's going to get 4 Cleave procs off, and that actually will be enough damage to drop Naga Siren to about 30-40% HP, or even outright kill her. Since the Cleave damage is calculated from the base armor of the hero that you target on, I'm actually not 100% certain if it does bonus Cleave damage, because the illusions are taking extra damage. I believe with the Templar Assassin Sideblade it does. I'm not too sure if it's the same for the Cleave coming out from the Ember Spirit with the Battle Fury at near 8. But nonetheless, it's a very fantastic way to deal with the illusions. And since so much of your damage is wrapped around the illusions, some of the Siren being forced, it's a level 1 song, so it's a 3-minute cooldown. Dust being popped, ART throws out the arrow. If they will time it properly, they do. Static Storm also being used as well. The Mystic Flare and the turret. Defense of the Assets takes a fall. Captain Taichu is actually still alive. The Thunderstruck should be enough to bring him down. Ravage now flies, catches out 3. Diablos will be taking fall as the Echo Smash brings him down. Ghost Mode flying out. Spooky Scary Skeleton should be actually taking fall. Prodigy runs into it, unfortunately. Let's keep his teammates alive. Squeeze the Cheese still alive. But he finally takes the fall as ART should be to right click him down with a leap coming off cooldown fairly short. Never mind. Actually starts out the arrow. CC Cheese denies himself to the neutrals. The good recognition coming up from him. And standard alpha male. Looks like he's actually a little bit bugged right now. He's got a strange animation happening up from him. Chrysalis already up. It's a very standard Kunkka build. No fuss, no muss, no need to go for that Shadow Blade. I was opting for a straight up Daedalus very early on with the Owner Shadows to provide you a bit more survivability and a ganking presence. And if he's able to get that Daedalus, Kunkka and the Ember Spirit function very similar in the sense that they both rely on the Alpha Strike damage to win on the fight. But the advantage of the Kunkka is if he boats before eSnug initiate, eSnug will be having a difficult time, especially with the counter initiation power of the Song and the Ravage. And so it's difficult for eSnug because they're now forced to go into these scrappy fights where they try to duke it out, outlast the enemy team, and just disengage and constantly re-engage. Because the instant they realize that they've got the Coco run buff on, they have to disengage. They can't afford to fight when half their damage is being mitigated. Especially since they're so dependent on being an out DPS down the enemy heroes. To Spooky Scary Skeleton, he wants to go for a Blink Dagger at one point, but just Tranquil Boots and the Bracer up on him. Skywrath Mage, on the other hand, has a 4 position, Diablos. Skywrath Mage is usually able to find a lot more farm and a lot more gold than other small heroes. Because he's very fast, it's very difficult to kill Skywrath Mage if you position yourself properly, since all the abilities have such huge range. And with the Mystic Flare, you have a huge amount of solo killing power. Lion does have solo killing power as well, I suppose, with the finger, but while I say that, Captain Taichu, X marks the spot into the boat combo, into the torrent combo. Ancient Seal being used, what's the Mystic Flare? Captain Taichu can turn with one more right click. There we go, the Arcane Bolt should be to seal the deal. Trying to pull himself up, actually the bottle charge is keeping him alive. Good play coming out from Standard Alpha Male. But while it's happening in the bottom lane, Caesar Cheese and Spooky Scary Skeleton, they should be able to take that tier 1. AIT rotates and throws down Eric. Unfortunately, a creep's able to bodyguard that for him. So catching the grenade for you. Defense of the assholes. Gets caught on the impel. Good response coming Spooky Scary Skeleton. Now turns him to a frog. Caesar Cheese can turn around on this. AIT has no arrow. He drops the Stag Storm and the Moonlight Shadow, basically throwing his life away. And that's Moonlight Shadow being expended for absolutely nothing. So they don't have any other heroes in position to be able to rotate or be able to do anything else. Battle Fury now up on Brightside as well as the Drums of Endurance. And so he's reached the point of critical mass. Since you weren't able to shut the Ember Spirit down before he got the Battle Fury, or at least take enough of his towers, it's now incredibly difficult to be able to win these fights. Especially when you've got a hero like a Naga Siren that went through the Fusel Blade. So a lot of pressure and a lot of blame for how this game is turning out should be placed on Arab King, because as that one position farmer, as a safe lane Naga Siren, you want to go for Radiance. Or 9 times out of 10, Radiance is going to be superior to the Diffusal Blade. In terms of farming, in terms of damage, in terms of teamfight impact. Ghost Boat as well as the Torrent, but he's able to zip on out of there before the Ghost Boat lands. And so good recognition coming up from Brightside, preemptively placing a Fire Remnant. This is something that experienced Ember Spirit players like to do. Anytime you go into a lane, you always place a Remnant behind you. Since you only ever really need one of your Remnants, actually very surprising he opted for a second point in the Fire Remnant, because the only thing it gives you is a 50 damage increase. A lot of pro players actually just keep it at 1 to give yourself that maneuverability and max out your other abilities, and even just completely full go leveling up past level 1, just go for more points and stats. Because you're not using the Remnant for the damage, you do have that option very early on if you're going in for a level 6 gank, but ideally you usually don't want to. Arab King, he's got Song, he pops it. Captain Taichu, as well as the Caesar Cheese being called out there, the entire Recursion team are rotating in, and this could be absolute bloodbath. Unfortunately, not able to time it properly, and so they rotate out. And if they did dust Captain Taichu, he got purged off him. Caesar Cheese tanking up a lot. Actually, Ghost Boat should be ensures death. What's the Static Storm? Huge amount of investment. 3 ultimates used just to ensure kill on the 3 position in Brightside, New Zealand, doing what he does best, continuing to farm. Caesar Cheese, despite his questionable build, he has picked up a mech, and once he gets a few more points up in the goo, because they've got so much physical damage from their 2 other cores, Bristleback is always going to be relevant in this game. So I do wish that he opted for a much more aggressive build, or a much more optimal build, by going for a maxed out Cool Spray at 1 point in the passive and then maxing out the goo. Or even the second point in the Bristleback passive and then turning back to max out the goo, because that would have given a huge amount of a ganking presence, especially with Captain Taichu, since he's always been rotating around the map. He hasn't really been spending too much time farming. He has been now that he knows that the Recursion are constantly grouping up. But the Clinkz, he's applying that psychological pressure. And Standard Alpha Male actually almost could go for the courier kill. Wasn't able to get there in time. Spooky Scary Skeleton, an inch from death. There we go. X marks the spot. Ghost Boat flies out. Torrent unfortunately whiffs. But Standard Alpha Male just drops an uncharged. That should be enough to ensure a kill. ALT actually leaps in for that. Right to New Zealand, he's just got a free amount of gold. Unfortunately, he whiffed his combo, but the Arcane Bolt, as well as the Mystic Flare, able to clean him up. So AIT's gift wrapping himself and tossing him back in. Medallion of Courage and the Goo. This is the combo I was talking about. Defense of the Assholes takes a fall. There's no boat up. They can't fight anymore. They don't want to use Ravage unless they absolutely have to, but they might be forced to do so if they want to ensure a retreat. But they're focusing fire on the wrong target. Scrub. Titan is never the target that you want to prioritize, because with Kraken Shell, he's almost guaranteed to be able to escape, or at any rate, he's a very low priority target. If you kill Alpha Male, at least you have to do a fair amount. If supports are available, he can turn around for a Ravage. The Ravage is expendable. That's a waste of a Ravage. It's actually a questionable Ravage. He loses a lot. His team now can't fight for 2.5 minutes, as well as him dying, because he's not going to get out of this alive, especially with the Clinkz there, with the Ghost Walk and the 4-staff. And Diablo's able to secure the kill. Good 4-staff recognition coming from Diablo's, constantly 4-staffing Captain Taichu to get these hits in. Taichu actually opting not to go for Blink Dagger, and he's instead going for a BKB. And so he knows that because they're going to be fighting so early on as 5, the Blink Dagger gives you a lot of solo kill momentum, but because he hasn't really able to get too much momentum to begin with, going for the BKB gives you a lot more teamfight impact. Caesar Cheese is going to keep stacking up that goo, but that Coco Run buff, it completely negates the finger. The finger does nothing. Kunkka, he actually kind of enjoys these backing off. The Coco Run buff is still up, and the Moonlight Shadow is there to ensure the disengage. AIT, looks like the arrow flew up but wasn't able to latch. Kinetic Field being used very early on. Glimpses back Spooky Scary Skeleton, so a very short range glimpse. And Stag Storm is completely ineffective. AIT gets a kill over on Diablos. Ghost Boat, Xbox Smoke Combat completely whiffs. Arab King turns around Spooky Scary Skeleton, turns him to a frog, and runs away. The plays coming up from Lion, the plays. Without the incest, no one interrupted. AIT Sees the Cheese is now going to town. He's got the Quill Spray, cleans him up. This is the power of the Bristleback. If you go for the max Quill Spray or the max group build, Captain Taichu with the BKB stands his ground, does being popped to ensure that he's got that movement speed debuff to ensure the ability to retreat, or they can perhaps try to turn around once that BKB wears off. So Captain Taichu doesn't want to risk it. He backs off the Diffusal Blade Illusions, burning off a good chunk of his mana. But Naga Siren is completely useless at this point. Arab King, he's there for the song, and that's about it. Diffusal Blade, that's all he has. 29 minutes in as a safe lane Naga Siren. Brighton New Zealand has almost double his CS, and he actually took a few deaths. He was constantly pressured by the Tidehunter. And Naga Siren received very little pressure as Cisa Cheese went for a very passive build and died a fair few times as well. He actually received a fair amount of free experience and free gold. But Naga Siren wasn't able to capitalize. And because he went for a Diffusal Blade, they've now lost the late game. If the game ever goes late, eSnug will be single-handedly be able to win the game. All three of their core scale much better than Naga Siren because she went for the Diffusal Blade. If you have Diffusal Blade is an item that you pick up on Naga Siren, if you're a 4 position and you finish the core items and you happen to have a fair amount of farm. On a 1 position Naga Siren, it gives you very little. Ghostbow actually being whiffed to Diablos. He's done the 4-stuff himself out before the X flies. Actually, Kunkka was halfway through casting it. It's a quick reflexes over on Diablos. He's got that maxed out Ancient Seal. So he's actually got a fair amount of farm, almost has a Rod of Atos, and the Rod of Atos, the Rod of Allian, the Skywrath, is absolutely ridiculous, because the Arcane Bolt scales very well to the late game, it gives you a huge amount of intelligence, it's a very cost-efficient item in terms of the stats it gives you, and since Skywrath Mage, all he needs is mana and HP, and so having the 300 HP you actually get from having the Vitality Booster makes Skywrath much tankier, and with the Rod of Allian and the Concussive Shot, you guarantee a Mystic Flare, and if you guarantee a Mystic Flare on one target, it almost ensures you a kill. 4-hero rotation to pick off Brightside. So Brightside getting a little bit sloppy, Desolator up on him. So fantastic recognition coming up from eSnug. They know that because they have so much negative armor, because Recursion have such low armor, as opposed to going for a Chrysalis, just go for a Desolator. Desolator is the most cost-efficient DPS item in the game. At least until they get armor above 10. Captain Taichu styles all over Arab King, pops a BKB, then backs off. Moonlight Shaz used Diablo's 4-stuff himself far forward, catches out Scrums, and can't get that Ravage off. Unfortunately whips the Mystic Flare. And now he's going to be called out. Arrow catches out Spooky Scary Skeleton, and they actually throw 2 lives away. Captain Taichu can go for a pick-off kill, defense of the assholes. Dark Packs, he backs away, he's got Skeleton Walk in 2 more seconds. And the Pink's coming out, he's actually leashing back the creep wave to delay the push. Good recognition coming out from Captain Taichu. He knows that on his own, he can't stop the push, but what he can do is leash back the creep wave, since the tower will institute backdoor regen once the creeps are gone. Fortification used very early on. Captain Taichu hanging there in the wings, he's waiting for them to split, or for his teammates to respawn so he can turn them around. And with Brighton New Zealand coming back into the fray, the two of them can actually turn this fight, especially with Bristleback also hanging around. He's rotating mid. Defense of the Assholes takes 1 right click and loses a 5th of his life. AIT, 1 more right click, and Captain Taichu brings him down. Just right clicks him down. Scrub, corner of the Empower, the thing can be used while he gets the defensive Ravage off on 4, turns into a frog, Ghostbow flies out, the Ghostbow's over the latch, and catches on 4, fantastic combo coming for Recursion, and they turn the fight, Cisa Cheese, BKB up on him, he's not able to do anything. Brighton New Zealand respecting the power of the Ghost Bow. It says, oh my lord, Diablos actually jukes it out, kills Defense of the Assholes. He jukes out the Connect Field and Static Storm. Cisa Cheese still alive, but the rest of his team is dead, so it doesn't even matter if the Bristleback is alive at this point. The Illusion's flying up from Diablos. So fantastic plays coming from Recursion. That's some Woe Dota top 10 plays coming up from them, as they didn't respect the Kunkka. The Torrent into the Ghostbow combination completely destroyed them, especially as he also got a crit with his Tidebringer, and to instantly kill 3 heroes, the Torrent, the additional 5 ticks of the Torrent damage was able to do the rest. And BKB up on Cisa Cheese, but that BKB was completely wasted. He popped it when he was at about 10-20% HP, and so Bristleback, he's at least opted for an item that gives him the ability to be able to stick to his targets. So he now should be opting for something like a Soul Cuirass of Vladimir's offering to give his team that extra boost of armor. And either build for utility or start building hard carry items. Armlet on Bristleback is absolutely terrifying, because if you get it fast enough, you 3-shot the supports. With the Warpath stacks, with the goo, you run at them, you hit them, and that's not even including this Quill Spray. And so Bristleback right-clicks incredibly hard, if you're able to, and so if you build damage items, you can synergize with that really well. And simply just run at the supports and destroy them, and force them to constantly back off. Looks like Kunkka has enough for a Daedalus and a Shadow Blade, so he's obscenely stacked. And probably going to be going for, he could go for a Blink Dagger if he wants to give himself a lot more utility, or he can opt to just stack Daedaluses. The stacking Daedaluses on the Kunkka, very efficient build order, because it gives you, the Daedalus gives you a huge amount of damage, since the only other damage item you can really go for that will give you a flat increase in damage besides the Rapier is the MKB. But the MKB not going to be a great pickup on the Kunkka, because you don't have the attack speed to capitalize off it. And so the Daedalus will give you a lot more damage, and also ensures that your crit chance is a lot higher. Cisa Cheese takes the arrow like a boss. X marks the spot. Actually, unfortunately, they mistimed that, so Diablo's able to force stop himself out of time. Brighton's here, sends the grass stack, so whiffs. That does catch on Caesar Cheese. Skeleton takes the force. Kunkka's able to bring him down with what looks like the Titan crit. The Tidebringer crit. Brighton Zero stands, got turned around the slave for Siren check combination, but the Kraken shot immediately poaches it off. Caesar Cheese pops his BKB, they decide to tag the ground turn. Scrub's taking a lot of fire, there's no Ravage up for him. Stand off a mount, he's the one that they want to kill. He's a big fat stack of gold. Clinkz able to bring down Naga in the background. Scrub is waiting for the Ravage to come off cooldown, but it's going to be too late, even if he does get a return off the Ravage. Slave Fist cleans them up, and Caesar Cheese actually gets a kill in the backline over on the Mirana. And Brighton New Zealand, he's reached the point of critical mass. And if he gets, once he picks up his Daedalus, one Slighted Fist will instantly kill the backline heroes, and will actually instantly kill Arab King if he has his illusions close to him. And so the Ember Spirit, while Brighton has taken a fair few deaths, he's always been able to stay on top of his farm. His net was absolutely through the roof. In terms of golden experience lead, eSnug, they're finally able to climb it, 7,500, about 8,000 gold lead with that tower, 8,500. But the 12,000 EXP lead, this is the critical factor. Brighton actually messes up his combo. He just press Q without pressing W first. He can choose to commit to this with a remnant. Diablo's going balls deep! And Captain Taichu is able to help out with that as well. With the Battalion of Courage. But this is the power of the Rod of Aoi and the Skywrath Mage. Your 4-position farmer can 2-count and kill their other heroes. He's got more farm than the 3-position Tidehunter. Tidehunter still no Blink Dagger, opting not to go for the Blink, went for a Hood of Defiance, which doesn't really give you anything, because eSnug, the majority of the damage is physical. You've got some magic damage coming out from the Lion and from the Mystic Flare from the Skywrath Mage, but building a Hood of Defiance to deal with the 4 positions is a pretty bad way to go. Do you want to have to stack armor on your team? You need the initiation from the Tidehunter. I guess they're relying on Arab King to send them up with the song, but the song coordination hasn't been the greatest. They've whiffed half of their arrow songs. And Naga looks like he's going for a Butterfly. Some very, very questionable build coming from Naga Brighton New Zealand, he's able to remnant up. Unfortunately, he didn't remnant out fast enough. So he ate the Ghost Boy with the X marks, and see Alpha Male might actually go for the kill. He remnants out, he's got one more remnant left. But he's now on cooldown, he's fleeing for his life. He might be the TP out on top, the Earn Charge might be enough to bring him down as well. Scrub, he needs to Anchor Smash. He says go for the Gush. Anchor Smash is a 400 AoE. You can Anchor Smash there, and you deal enough damage to finish him off. So thing to keep in mind for next time. But that being said, maybe he thought that the Magic Armor shield was still up. With the Flame Guard, Mystic Flare being used, the Impale catches out Scrub, and Clinkz actually kills defense of the assholes in the background. So Clinkz doing what Clinkz does best, pops a dust, but one Daedalus crit instantly kills the Diablo, sends out the BKB. It should be to bring down Alpha Male. There you go. No Ghost Boy, no Coco run for you. Scrub, he's got Ravage, so he can't turn around, but the dust was able to catch him out. Swixing his together, eats an arrows. He might have traded to stand his ground. Maybe expecting Captain Taichu to go in for that, but Captain Taichu, he's being picked up by his captain and says, roger that, he backs off. Caesar Cheese going for a Hood of Defiance. Now the Pipe of Insight and the Bristleback makes a lot more sense than the Pipe of Insight coming up from the Tidehunter, because the Ghost Boat is a huge amount of magic damage, especially if they're able to hit 3-4 heroes like they did before. But that being said, not really a big fan of Pipe of Insight on the Bristleback, because it doesn't give you too much utility, because I suppose if you have the mech and you're able to farm up the Pipe in reasonably good order, it gives you a very powerful mid game if you can get it fast enough. But Pipe, it's 3,500 gold for a 400 magic shield, and it's not that effective because it's not including base magic resistance. And so it will absorb the boat, but it won't do anything with the Daedalus crit. And so I would have preferred Vladimir's into the AC, so you're giving your team that plus 10 armor, because the Daedalus crit on the Tidebringer, that's what's going to win Recursion in these fights. Since the cleave damage from Tidebringer is calculated off the armor of whatever target you hit, you want to hit usually a creep because they've got such a low armor, or the hero with the lowest armor, so the cleave damage deal isn't going to be as mitigated as opposed to if you hit a hero with high armor. And Ember Spirit, he's got very low armor because he has such awful stat growth, and he never builds any agi boosting items or armor boosting items. And so they might as well go all in with this armor strat, and if they're able to get the AC on top of the Desolator, the Medallion Courage, and the Goo, they could outlast Recursion and bring them down, or even out DPS the Coco Roam. And so Captain Taichu stands ground over an Arab King. Slighted Fist comes out, unfortunately not able to land the Searing Chain, and Arab King's able to TP on out. Brightside New Zealand, he really is kicking himself. If he had the Flame Guard, that would be the free kill. But they're picking out Roshan as the Song of Siren was expended, and every time a Song is down, you no longer have that massive counter-initiate power. Actually, it looks like Naga Siren's burned through almost all of the Diffusal Blade charges, as Naga Siren pickup as a 4 position makes a huge amount of sense, as a 1 position does absolutely nothing. Standard Alpha Male, he's been carrying his team through. It looks like he's going for a BKB to ensure that he doesn't have to deal with the magic damage coming out from the Mystic Flare. So they do have a huge amount of burst damage if he happens to get called out. Speaking of Scary Skeleton, it's a Gush, but he's got a Haste Turret, catches out Scrub with the Impale. He's got Ravage available if he wants to commit it. Turns to a Frog, Kraken Child now debuffs it off. Throws in Ravage, catches out 2. Outside Alpha Male, runs in, catches out Diablo. She should be able to bring down Skywrath Mage. Skywrath Mage turns around, he can actually turn around and use the Rod of Aoi to snare him. Sees the cheese. He doesn't actually take any damage from that. Tidebringer crit whipped on him, doesn't actually do anything. Dive's career takes a fall in the meanwhile. So it looks like Brightside or Taichu took that out. He now comes to the fray, catches out Scrubs, the Slender Fist Air Chain combination. Captain Taichu, he gets 1, he gets 2. He's gonna get 3 as well. Scrubs takes 1 more right click. There you go, Crack Shot dodges that one off. And Alpha Male stands his ground, but sees the cheese that will smack him down. And Brightside New Zealand, he's on the hunt. Defense of the assholes. You can run from Brightside, but you can't run from Taichu. So Ultra Kill going to the Clinkz. Stuck between a rock and a hard place, or a rock and a fiery place. The Lord of Light is blessing eSnug as they take the tier 2. Fire OP. Brightside New Zealand, he TPs out, he drops a remnant before he does this. But good recognition coming in from him. This is a trick that you can do with the Ember Spirit, similar to a Tinker, especially if you have a bottle. It makes it a lot more efficient. You drop a remnant, you TP back home, you use your bottle to be able to regen back to full as quickly as possible. Then you zip back into your lane through the remnant, and you now got full HP as well as 3 bottle charges. And so it's something that Ember Spirit in the mid lane has to really capitalize on to be as efficient as possible, because similar to a Tinker, you want to optimize your farm. You want to get a massive amount of GPM, and once you get enough damage items that you could just 1 or 2 shot the enemy team with your Slender Fist, your team's won the game. Especially since you've got a Tricore setup. If you initiate on Ember Spirit, then Captain Taichu styles all over you. If you jump on Taichu, then Brightside New Zealand jumps on you. And Cisa Cheese, he's sitting there saying, I'm helping, throwing out goo. That's his entire contribution to his team. Stay alive, use mech, goo targets. You can throw out cool sprays and hit them as well. So Taichu, while Taichu and Brightside are doing damage, Cisa Cheese, he just has to run at the supports and force them to back away. Because when a Bristleback runs at you with Warpath charges up, with the goo and the BKB, you can't stand your ground, you can't control them, you're forced to run. And when you force the backline to break before the fight is over, you're able to pick off their core heroes, and then you can also turn around and continue to chase them down. Since with the 4 charges of the goo stack, Disruptor and can't really escape. AIT could try to escape with the leap, but if you're able to continue to run them down with the Warpath movement speed, you can run them. You can actually catch them off and finish them down. Bristleback's a very powerful chasing hero, and so it's the reason why building survivability. It's always a fine line. You want to build enough damage for them to want to focus you, and then you want to build enough survivability so you don't get immediately killed at the start of the fight. But that being said, even if you just build pure damage on the Bristleback, because you force them to always have to kill you, it's still a lot more effective than just building survivability. The only caveat to this is a mech. If you're playing Bristleback in that 3-position role, there's no other mech carrier, you're the mech carrier. Every time you pick a Bristleback, your team says, okay, thank God, we've got a mech carrier now, our other core players don't have to farm a mech, and that's what Bristleback has to do. If he gets a very early mech, he can fight very early on, he can take these towers, and do a lot of work. So this is something that Vici love to do. It's how they're able to end games at the 15-20 minute mark. If you have an offlane Bristleback to able to farm an 11-12 minute mech, you group up as 5, with the Bristleback playing very aggressively, and with the mech and the assistant team play sustainability with the Death Prophet, you can win the fight single-handedly. Alpha Male turned into a pig, and he should be right-clicked down. Captain Taichu stands his ground with the BKB, doesn't give a damn about the Static Storm. Speaking against Captain takes a fall, his corpse is glimpsed back. Captain Taichu caught out the Ravage, that actually could be a turnaround. Snap flies out of head. There's the Diffusal Blade charge up as well. Never mind, it's actually out the Diffusal Blade charge. Captain Taichu stands his ground, he's got the Aegis. He doesn't actually give too much of a damn. Brightside New Zealand, he's not even there. He's split pushing in the meanwhile. Cisa Cheese doing what Bristleback does best, running in. Anakin wants to go for the song, he hesitated twice. He now throws it up, but while that's happening, in the bottom lane, Brightside New Zealand, typical Ember Spirit contribution to a fight. Takes a tower, starts pressuring your racks. Similar to a Nature's Prophet or a bad pub player, he ignores the team fight, goes for a tower, sees the cheese, overextended a little bit, but he's still buying time and space. Good arrows coming out from AIT this game. He actually gets a double kill, so that eSnug actually overextended a wee bit. Fortification being forced. AIT almost loses all his life from that. One Slender Fist. Brightside New Zealand's reached the point of critical mass. Now with that Daedalus, he remnants on out of there. And Captain Taichu is still standing around to be able to provide some damage if he needs to. Brightside New Zealand calls the insta. He's got the remnants, so he can remnant out. Captain Taichu pops the BKB. He stands his ground. One more right click on defense of the assholes. AIT leaps out. Good destroy coming out from him. Defense of the assholes just barely keeping himself alive. The entire Recursion team is breaking and running from a Clinkz. And off the back of that, they should be there taking that first set of racks. So bombs to the racks going in favor of eSnug. 21,000 gold lead from the look of it. Going to be 22,000 once it's finished calculating. 30,000 EXP lead. This is the biggest EXP lead I have ever seen in the ODL2 and actually in any game I've ever casted. Captain Taichu really being able to put the fear into Recursion. His early rotations weren't so great, but I suppose in terms of strategic positioning, you can say they were a success because he forced Recursion to always group up. And so he was able to accomplish his job by being a one-man army. By constantly putting the fear into the enemy team, by forcing their supports to have to expend the money buying dust and buying sentries, and by forcing them to always stick together, they could never play aggressively. They lost the initiative, they lost momentum, because they're forced to react to the Clinkz. And while they were able to pick him off a fair few times, it wasn't enough. He actually could be called out right now, instead flies up, Captain just pops his BKB, he's going to stand his ground. He can bring down Scrub, or maybe Eric would have been the better target, he's still going to stand his ground nonetheless. BKB wears off the arrow flies from AIT, AIT doing a huge amount of work as that 4-position Mirana. Looks like he went for a Yule Scepter, So Yule Scepter does a huge amount of work for the Mirana because you Yule Scepter them to ensure that you get the error. You Yule Cyclone them up, similar to the Disruption into error combo. Wait a second or two, depending on how far away. Then you lose your error. They drop the error, hits them in the face. You leap in, you drop the Star Storm, bam, easy kills, easy money. But Arab King on this Naga Siren, a lot of the fault for this game really does rely on the fact that he just wasn't able to find enough farm, which is completely questionable considering the fact that the only pressure that was placed on was with the Bristleback that maxed out this passive first and died 3 times in the lane. Naga Siren should have had a 14-15 minute Radiance, or at least a Sacred Relic up by then. If he was able to get that 14-minute Relic, the game could have been completely different, because he could have played split pressure. But while I say that, Diablos calling the bad plays, Anchor Smash flies. He actually Yule Cycles himself up to dodge the instant. Good plays coming from Sans Grass going to kill AIT before he drops. Support for support, the Skywrath Mage. Diablos have been playing fantastically. His positioning has been a little bit off on times, his game sense and his reflexes have been doing a lot of work. And Brightside New Zealand over the Ember Spirits continuing to split push, similar to a Morphling. Ember Spirits able to continuously apply split pushing presence, and he has that guaranteed escape mech with the Remnant, similar to the Replicate. It makes him such a pain in the ass. He just zips on out there. He forces 3 heroes to rotate mid, and while that's happening, sees the cheese, just smacking the tier 2, saying, I'm helping guys. He wants to draw and then back to the top lane, and then Captain Taichu or Brightside New Zealand can run back through mid. So sees the cheese. While I do criticize his build, the way he's been playing his Bristleback still is pretty spot on. He's still been doing his job as a Bristleback, running in, forcing them to break, and forcing them to have to try to focus him down. So he's been doing a lot of work with that. I do wish he would have gone for a much more optimal build. But that being said, he's working with what he's got. And he has been, and the Bristleback pickup synergizes really well with that lineup. And so he's been doing okay as far as, so we'll call his performance okay. BKB now up on Kunkka. So he's got the ability to stand in these fights, but the issue with the Kunkka is the reason why BKB is not so great on him is Kunkka is very similar to an Ember Spirit. You want to be able to be the one dealing that first blow. You want to try to kill them as quickly as possible through that Tidebringer Daedalus crit. And so when you go for Tidehunter as a core position hero, you're pretty much gambling on whether or not the Tidebringer crits. And so that's why you see a lot of pro players stack Daedaluses, so you want 2 Daedaluses up on him ASAP, because it increases the crit chance likelihood to about 47% if you include PRD as well. Since you're so dependent on getting that Daedalus crit. If you don't get that Daedalus crit, the fight goes completely differently. Unless you're able to get a fantastic Ghost Boat on multiple heroes, like he was able to get in the mid lane. Sees the cheese, Rob's mana's been burned. Song is being committed over on Captain Taichi, but Captain Taichi's going to BKB, he just stands his ground. And that Song actually is now being used as the Soul of the Sign, as well as the Ghost Boat, catches out too. Ravage now been committed. Ravage been committed a bit too early to actually stack that CC. Speaking Scary Skeleton instantly explodes. AIT gets a double kill. Brightside New Zealand comes too late to the party. As Kunkka is able to clean up 3, Captain Taichi forced to buyback, so 4 taken 4, but the buyback's immediately out, so sure they can't push off the back of this. And Captain Taichi, he needs to get a pick for speed worthwhile, but while that happens, Brightside completely destroys the backline supports. With 1 Slayed Fist from the look, he stands across Slayed Fist Shadow combination. Shadow Blade being used, no dust available unfortunately, but the Shadow Blade will be wearing off fairly soon. And Brightside, he's critting for about a K, especially, he's got 2 Daedaluses up on him, so he's been doing his best to stack as much damage as possible. Unfortunately, whips his combo once again, Qs before he Ws, and then he just slates the creeps. Ghostbolt combo flies, he doesn't have the Flame Breath, he remnants, he's not able to remnant out on time, and standing off a mount might be able to do enough damage to kill him, but unfortunately, it didn't crit, and so he's able to remnant out. And Captain Taichu, he's on the hunt, standing off a mount, trying to juke him out, actually jukes out the remnant, and with that Shadow Blade, should be able to make it on now there. So Captain Taichu, the buyback, hasn't really been able to achieve all too much, but he's incredibly far ahead. Looks like he's going for a Daedalus or even a Divine Rapier. Although that being said, you never want to feed the Divine Rapier to a team that has a Kunkka. So the double Daedalus up on the Ember Spirit. You usually see maxed out. You usually see stacking out Battle Furies on the Ember Spirit, especially against an illusion hero such as a Naga Siren, because it amplifies your damage. It's a much more cost-efficient DPS for gold item in terms of mathematics. And so if you're assuming that you'll able to get at least 1 cleave head off, where your cleave is able to hit more than 1 hero, you're immediately going to deal more damage with it. Of course, the advantage of the double Daedalus build is, as opposed to relying on cleave damage, you just rely on crit damage. If your Slate of Fist, if each of your slates are more likely to crit, you're going to increase your damage output by a fair amount. Regardless, Diablos turns around the Agency. Song of the Siren being used. They catch out to the Static Storm. Static Storm's going to be working off fairly soon. Captain Taichu pops his BKB. Song is popped prematurely without any follow-up. Torrent now catches him out. Taichu's BKB is on the 4-second cooldown. He pops his own BKB. Ghostblood catches him out, and Taichu takes a fall. That's no buyback up for him. There's Recursion, they still can turn the game around. Alpha Male's BKB is wearing off, so it should be wearing off 1 more second. Coco Rum's also off as well. Brightside New Zealand caught up with the ensnare. He could be taking a fall. He actually remnants on out. He's in the row sharp, but they don't know this. Scrub Gets fingered to death by Spooky Scary Skeleton. Random fires from Roshan, dealing a huge amount of damage. Sees the cheese, he now runs into the fray. He's doing what Bristleback does best, just running at the enemy team. He's gonna be stacking as much as possible. The Tidebringer crit almost kills him. Diablos heals himself up and eats an arrow in the face. ART looks like he actually held on to his heals, so that was a self heals coming up from Diablos. It's a bit of a misplay coming up from him. But Brightside New Zealand, able to at least make them trade by killing off the 2 other cores. Shiva's Guard now up on the Bristleback. I love this pickup. Would have preferred an Assault Caress because it gives you more ammo for your team. The Shiva's Guard still synergizes with what he's doing because he's running at the enemy team. If you've got the Shiva's Guard Winter Blast as well as the Goo, the supports aren't going to be able to run away from you. It gives you all the time in the world for you to smack them down. Also works very well against the Naga Siren because you can kill you've got another way to get a kill off the illusion. And works well against Kunkka because as a strength hero, he's got very low agi growth, so his attack speed's fairly low. In terms of golden net worth, we've got about 23,000 gold lead in favor of Recursion. In terms of experience, about 21,000. While the game looks like it's heavily in favor of eSnug, Recursion, because they've got that massive teamfight combo, they can turn this game around. There always is that comeback recovery mechanic. Kunkka actually picks up a Sage, so he could be opting for... it's definitely not going to be a Sage and Yasha, because it doesn't really give Kunkka anything. Well, anything important, so probably going to be a Heaven's Halberd. Heaven's Halberd going to be a great pickup, especially since Taichu's BKB is down on the 4-second cooldown. So if you disarm the Clinkz, Clinkz can't touch you because he doesn't have any utility items. He's built his hero predominantly, entirely around dealing damage. Usually Clinkz has a utility item to help set up ganks, so it's 9 times out of 10 it's an Orca Malevolence, or sometimes you can even go for a Sheep Stick on the Clinkz, since you don't necessarily have to build damage. But because he went for the Medallion of Courage, and because he played this very mid-game oriented Clinkz build, he's decided just simply to stack damage then. So would actually like to see something like a Blink Dagger on the Clinkz, so he could engage from further back away. So he can wait for Caesar Cheese to run up for them to initiate on Caesar Cheese, then he can blink in and try catch heroes out. So Halberd up on Kunkka, but this is a reactive Halberd. This is an item that you want built on your Tidehunter. The Tidehunter, he's now got his Blink Dagger and a Pipe. The Pipe isn't going to give you anything against this lineup. It helps mitigate the Finger of Death and the Mystic Flare, but you've got the Coco Run for that. So you don't want to have to build your items around the supports to counteract the supports. You want to build your items to counteract the cores. Brightside actually runs into that arrow. Lewis, please. Caesar Cheese is there though. Ghostbug flies out. The others runs into it. He backs away in time. Torrent flies out on Brightside. Brightside takes the ball. Standing off a Mount, smacks him down. Caesar Cheese pops the BKB. Standing his ground. Up against the Kunkka. Song as well as Ravage flies out. Actually interrupts the Ravage. Diablo's fleeing for his life. He's perched up with the Diffusal Blade. Spooky Scary Skeleton. Brightside, he's got bolt back. He's got boots of travel, so he's able to come in and re-engage into the fight. Clinkz actually ends up a Bell Spree. Diablo's caught up with the ensnare. He's got the Yule Scepter coming off in 2 seconds. Actually uses it to try to interrupt. Arab King, but Spooky Scary Skeleton blinks and catches out the Impale. This is huge. No buyback up on Arab King. He can't defend this. He doesn't have enough gold to be the buyback even if he wanted to. So there's no song to set it up. Scrub tries to delay Brightside New Zealand. Arab flies unfortunately whips. He's caught with the Searing Chains. The Kraken Shell debuffs it off. Guru now flies out from Caesar Cheese, so I can commit to this if they really want to. Captain Taichu, if he had a Blink, I can go for this, but Spooky Scary Skeleton, he's got the Hex. He's got the Finger. Unfortunately, he fingered him with the hero with the Pipe. Mystic Flare's able to clean him up. Defense of the Assholes runs through the Mystic Flare as well. I guess he wanted to join in the fun, and GG being called. 51 minutes in. Very back and forth game. Recursion, they had a wonderful opportunity to end the game or to win the game. But unfortunately, a lot of blame does lie with Arab King over the one position Naga Siren. This is what it all boils down to. The other 2 cores, the Tidehunter and the Naga Siren. Tidehunter went for drums, which delayed that team fight. And I suppose with the Naga Siren, you don't necessarily need a blink. But if your Naga Siren should be doing other things. She should be split pushing, she should be farming, she's got other things to worry about. Tidehunter should be picking up the blink, forcing the issues, starting these fights, taking towers as quickly as possible, buying space for Arab King, who had uncontested free farm the top lane, should have had that ready, so it really does boil down to that. Went for the Diffusal Blade. Diffusal Blade, it might have given them a few kills, but it gave them nothing in terms of team fight. So that's really what it'll boil down to. So we're just going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back for game number 2.